Well, one of the natural ways to look stupid in the future is to make really concrete predictions in the present. Where does an extra 20% of performance matter? I'm pretty sure that there will be at least multiple large model providers. And I think that's good for the overall ecosystem in the industry. But we are going to have to be careful of this stuff. 100% certain of this is that within 5 years, there will be equivalent of a co-pilot for every profession.
So I guess there's a related question, which is where does value in the industry aggregate? And a lot of people are wondering what proportion of the successes in the industry go to the platforms like OpenAI or other APIs, what goes to the application layer. And so it'd be interesting to hear your viewpoint in terms of like, what does this ecosystem look like in 3 to 5 years, both from the perspective of app versus platform, but also like what's the natural evolution path on the platform side?
Well, one of the natural ways to look stupid in the future is to make really concrete predictions in the present. So, with that caveat and deep fear and hesitation, so I think there's fundamentally kind of two trends that are going on. One trend is on the scale compute thing, which includes large language models. I don't think that will be the only application of scale compute. I think the scale compute and size of compute will be driving one trend of progress. And part of that trend of progress is where does, for example, an extra 20% of performance matter? So if you think, well, okay, a virtual doctor, well, extra 20% really does matter, right? Maybe lawyer, maybe engineer, maybe, and I go, okay. So on that large scale, okay, well, yes, we're innovating and we've accomplished so much more with this smaller model. Well, what if you do that smaller model now at scale on the things that really matter, where that cost curve of the large model being super expensive is worth that, either directly to what the large model folks are doing or as provisioning to startups and so on. And then I think the other trend will be highly tuned, more compact scale compute, whether they're large language models, foundational models, other things. And maybe they'll be tuned with very specific data. Maybe they'll be tuned for a very specific thing within, kind of an operational cost, and I think you'll see progress, and maybe some of those will be open sourced. I think we'll get into more of that later. Now, in terms of aggregation of where is there interesting opportunities for building companies, and where will the projects turn into great companies in 3 to 5 years, and how much of it will be, the large language model or scale model providers and others, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty there. I'm pretty sure that there will be at least multiple large model providers. And I think that's good for the overall ecosystem in the industry. And I think that they will also, in different ways, like OpenAI's real thing is beneficial AI is their top thing. And so they don't have the thing to say, oh, come build on the OpenAI platform, and then we're going to go build that app. That they have like negative interest in that, less than zero in doing that kind of stuff. So that gives a lot of entrepreneurial freedom and ability to run and invent, which I think is good, plus the multiple. So I think that's good. And I think the other area is to say, like these, even like a 50 billion parameter, 100 billion parameter model, or a 1 exaflop model, kind of trained the right way, there'll be a bunch of these things that'll be open source. That'll be good for developers, good for creativity and so forth. But we are going to have to be careful of this stuff, right? Because, like for example, I was skeptical about the early releases of stability because of various forms of exploitive material or revenge porn or other kinds of things. Obviously misinformation within the ecosystem is one of the things we have to deal with, and we'll have to take responsibility for those kind of open models in various ways when you get these kind of superpowers. And so I think it's one of the things that it's important to also to track, but I think it will have a huge amount of generativity. And then I think it actually is kind of like the old school rules. Like, well, does your business have network effects? If your business has network effects, then kind of like whatever you're provisioning in either of these two threats, that'll be good. If you're integrated to a lot of enterprises, that integration is another form of persistence in business. If you have, you kind of get a first to scale, and you're in that first to scale, all of blitz scaling, you're doing the aggregation of customers, the brand, the aggregation of talent, the aggregation of capital, and all the rest. That could be it. And so those old rules still apply here. Now the question, of course, is given so much interest and so much going on, figuring out how to do them exactly, well, that's very challenging. But that challenging means is ultimately to the advantage of startups, because in places where you can run experiments and you can run them without worrying about damaging your current brand or position or customers is one thing, and you can run the experiments really quickly and change. You can try things in terms of, well, maybe there's a big market here, maybe there's not. I can try it because different startups can go after different things. You can respond quickly. You can say, well, we tried this for 2 months and now we're doing something entirely different, which is one of the things that large companies can't do. I mean, literally, I don't think there's any large company that can do that. And so anyway, so that's where I think part of it is looking at. Now, that being said, to finish out an answer to your question, I think that one of the things that my partner, Sam Motamedi at Greylock, and I wrote in the fall, because like 100% certain of this, is that within 5 years, there will be equivalent of a co-pilot for every profession, and define a profession as I process information and generate things that also have to do with information. Like a doctor generates prescriptions and diagnoses, or like all of the graphic designers generate, kind of graphic designs. And I think there will be something for everything. And 5 years, I think, is giving us generous time. Like, I think it will be sooner than that. And I think that is nearly certain. And that a range of impact and range of thing is part of why there is such amazing startup opportunity, that even the current startups all going for it, look, they're going to pick some of them, not all of them.